Have you or your student ever complained about taking a standardized test? For some people, this can cause a great deal of havoc in their lives. Some people feel that they don't have the skills to perform well on these tests, and others cannot concentrate and therefore do poorly. These tests can carry a lot of weight. For example, ACT and SAT a lot of times are needed to get into college, but they do not accurately evaluate ability. Undergraduate admissions should lean away from using standardized tests for 3 reasons. The first is because standardized tests leave out key information. The second is because standardized tests cause test anxiety. And the third is because standardized tests are unreliable and unhelpful. Have you ever been able to get all the information out of one person with one encounter with them? Probably not. So how is a test supposed to do this? Which leads me to my first point. Standardized tests leave out key information. In 2011, the book Myths of Standardized Tests, Why They Don't Tell You What They Think They Do, written by Philip Harris and published by Rauman and Littlefield Publishers Incorporation. Psychometrician Daniel Cortez says that these scores are not a direct or complete measurement of achievement. There are elements not included such as honesty, leadership, resourcefulness, and many more. These characteristics make a person individualized, and it is hard to evaluate them without these involved in the test. Another source of 2013, published by ASCD Edge, 15 Reasons Why Standardized Tests Are Problematic, written by Thomas Armstrong, an educator, says that standardized tests are unable to measure creativity. Even if a student tries to go above and beyond, the format will most likely be wrong, and since these tests are graded by computers, it will be incorrect. These standardized tests also lack diversity and do not take into account cultural or family backgrounds or different languages and experiences. So it's hard to accept these scores if all this information is being left out. So, as my first main point demonstrates, standardized tests leave out key information. If standardized tests leave out key information, they also are affected by personal problems, which leads me to my second point. Standardized tests cause test anxiety. In 2012, a peer-reviewed academic journal, Preventing School Failure, written by Mbase and Hassan, says that these tests are becoming more important in determining achievement. Anxiety is on the rise. Test anxiety can be defined as behavior and physiological responses to the fear of negative consequences if one performs badly. Some symptoms of test anxiety include crying, need for reassurance, and attention seeking. If these students cannot concentrate, their scores will be poor. It also showed in a study that between urban and suburban areas in different economic statuses, the differences in test anxiety does not change. In Ziedner's Test Anxiety, the State of Art book, published by Kluwer Academic Publishers in 1998, says that we live in a test-conscious, test-giving community, that our lives are partly determined by our performance on these tests. The pressure is obviously there. A study was done that showed that compared the 10 most anxious elementary students to the 10 least anxious. The study's results were astonishing. It showed that the 10% most anxious students were over 1 year behind national standard polls, and that the 10% least anxious were above national averages by 1 year. This is a 2-year swing just caused by test anxiety. As my first main point demonstrates, standardized tests cause test anxiety. If standardized tests do not have accurate info and cause anxiety, how are they supposed to be helpful? Which leads me to my third main point. Standardized tests are unreliable and unhelpful. Bates College released an article in 2014, and NPR reports its first of its kind national study by HIS, year 66, challenging the value of standardized tests. It stated that these tests are often unhelpful, misleading, and unpredictive of the students that Bates College is usually interested in. A study showed that students who submitted test scores received a 0.5 GPA point higher than other students who did not submit test scores. It also showed that submitted scores gave a 0.6 graduation rate higher than those who did not submit test scores. This is a trivial difference, which just shows how unuseful these test scores really are, and that it played no role in the successfulness of these 123,000 students that the study was performed on. Lynn Olson's 2001 article, Study Questions of Reliability Single-Year Test Score Gains, published on edweekly.org, says that standardized test scores aren't as reliable as they once thought. It showed that between 50 and 80% of improvement changes were by chance. It had nothing to do with increased productivity in the classroom, and they were just fluctuations. This also applies to admission tests. Fluctuations can happen easily, and so they are unreliable. They also do not recognize the strengths and weaknesses, which make them unhelpful. So, as my third point demonstrates, standardized tests are unreliable and unhelpful. So let's review why undergraduate admissions should lean away from standardized tests. The facts are really standing up against them. There's no reason that somebody should be judged based on their scores, and that other things need to be taken into account. Standardized tests leave out information like honesty and curiosity. They also cause anxiety, which hold people back from performing well, and they also are not very accurate and not useful. So now go take your stand and be an advocate for finding an alternative solution to find a better thing to ability of undergraduate admissions. Undergraduate admissions should lean away from standardized tests for three main reasons. The first is they leave out key information, the second is they cause test anxiety, and the third is because they are unreliable and unhelpful.